And at the end of the day, Alexe handled the situation terribly. But again, I've been dragging her most of the season, and I just don't think she's a good person, and I'm glad we don't have to watch her any further. Hello everyone, I'm back and we have a lot to talk about. I apologize for the delay. I was in Berlin, and then once I got back from Berlin, I was jet lagged, and then my dog, she just turned 16 and she's just getting older and she's just not doing well. She's fine for now, but it's just typical stuff with the aging dog. Anyways, this is not a pity party, so let's talk about The Bachelor. And first up, we gotta talk about the most important thing that happened. It has been announced, Taylor, Frankie, Paul is the next Bachelorette. If you didn't know, this news had Bachelor Nation in absolute shambles. Taylor, Frankie, Paul was on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I did not watch this show, but the show had 2 seasons and I'm guessing it was somewhat of a hit. I have a friend who watches that show, and as soon as this Bachelorette announcement hit, I texted my friend and basically he said this was a great choice because she will bring the drama. So I'm guessing on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, she brought a lot of the drama to the show. And it's very clear ABC needed to do something to shake up the Bachelorette because in general, I don't think the show was doing well. So ABC chose to have Taylor, Frankie, Paul as the lead. But choosing her as the lead, this show is gonna go downhill so fast and it's gonna get so trashy really quickly. That's what I think is gonna happen. So just a few things. First, Taylor, Frankie is Mormon. I'm pretty sure we have never had a Mormon lead on the show. Clock me in the comments if that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure she'll be the first Mormon lead, so that's kind of controversial. Next, Taylor has 3 kids with 2 different baby fathers. That's gonna be very different compared to the normal leads of this show. Don't ask me the details on her previous relationships. I didn't watch Secret Mormon Wives, so I don't know. So I don't know if she has good relationships with her baby fathers. I don't know if they were married previously. I don't know for how long. I don't know any of the details, but I do know she has 3 kids and 2 different baby fathers, which will be very different for a Bachelorette lead because normally the Bachelorette lead has never been married and usually has no kids. Next, they're doing casting for her season right now, and how good her season is will definitely be partly determined by the casting. That's just Bachelor and Bachelorette in general. But in my head, I'm not sure how many contestants she'll get that are like serious, that are down to date a mom of 3 with 2 other baby fathers, and then also I don't know how messy she was on Secret Mormon Wives, but I'm curious how many people are like interested in dating her, and interested in seriously dating her, and like what the quality of guys will be like. Because I hate to say from what I've heard so far, it doesn't sound like the quality of guys is going to be very high. Again, the quality of guys we've had on previous Bachelorette seasons has already been a struggle, and now we got Frankie, so we'll see how it goes. And like, long story short on that, we already have a ton of contestants who basically go on the show to clout chase, and now that Frankie is the lead, I think it's only going to get worse. But I will admit, I do think it's going to be an interesting watch. And last thing I want to say about this will be Frankie's first time on The Bachelorette. I'm not going to lie, I don't love when they do this because production is definitely gonna take a lot of the reins, and I'm pretty sure Frankie will be a pawn at times because when you've never been on the show before, you really don't know how it goes. We saw issues with this on Matt James this season. Matt James was picked as a lead before he had even been on The Bachelorette. That was during the pandemic. That's a whole other story, but it was very clear Matt James didn't know how things go or how they were supposed to go because he had never been on the show before, and I think that's gonna be a learning curve for Frankie as well. And last thing I want to say, a lot of the viewers of this show want to see love and want to see love stories, and I'm pretty sure you will not get that with Frankie's season, but we will just have to wait and see. What are your thoughts on Frankie as the next lead? Let me know in the comments. Let me know if there's anything I missed. Next, in a week and a half, there's going to be a new season of Golden Bachelor. I am still not sure if I'm going to review it. I kind of want to skip the season and just take a break. I watched Golden Bachelorette last season, and y'all, it was really boring. Like, I was not a big fan. So I think I'm going to skip the Golden Bachelor. And please do not accuse me of ageism. Y'all, it's nothing to do with that. I just thought it was kind of boring. And if you watched my reviews for Golden Bachelorette, I thought some of the dads were kind of hot. I think that's all I got. Let's dive into the review. For this review, I'm going to talk about episode 9, the finale, and the reunion. So this may be a little bit long of a video, but I'm going to try to give y'all timestamps underneath if y'all just want to skip anything. And just a heads up, y'all, I watched episode 9 on the train on the way to the airport to Berlin. So, and I took notes on my phone. So if I missed anything or you have any questions, just put it in the comments below. So for episode 9, I'm just going to point out a few things and then I'm going to talk about the couples that I think were important and the challenge. The episode starts and Hannah B comes in to talk with, I think, the women contestants about engagements. Y'all, this was entirely too much. There's just too much going on in the show. There's gonna be engagements too. This is a terrible season and it just seems to get worse. Production just doesn't seem to know where they want the show to go. And in my opinion, there's just too much going on. So there's a dating element and then trying to steal dates. Now they turned it into a game show. And then also they're supposed to get engaged. It's too much happening in too little time. And as a viewer, it makes the focus of the show very confusing. Next, throughout this episode, when it comes to Jess and Spencer, Jess is worried that Spencer is rushing the relationship, and this becomes a theme throughout the whole episode. This season, we have gotten barely anything from Jess and Spencer, and finally now from them, we're getting a storyline. And let me know what y'all thought, but to me, it feels like Jess does not like Spencer that much. At one point, Jess was like freaking out about how fast Spencer was moving. And to me, it felt like Aiden and Carrie Bradshaw. And if y'all don't know about that relationship, at the end of the day, Carrie just wasn't that into Aiden. And at one point, Spencer and Jess were having a one-on-one and Spencer mentions he wants to get pregnant in 2 years and he talks about moving in together and Jess is worried. Jess says she won't be ready to move in together. And Spencer at one point says, when I decide something, I have blinders on and go full speed ahead. And low key, same. Like, I understand what he's getting at. Like, I tend to be the same way. When I have a goal, I just put my blinders on and go full speed ahead and I take a leap of faith. And in Spencer's defense, it was kind of nice to see this. Like, Spencer very much is just taking a leap of faith and like putting faith in what he has in Jess and in their relationship, even though it is a very short amount of time. But it's refreshing to see it. Like, the point of this show is to find a partner and eventually get engaged and get married. And he wants to do all of that, plus like have kids, move in together, yada, 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 which we have not seen that from contestants in a while. So it is very nice when we do get a male contestant who wants that. And sorry, I said contestants, but I meant male contestants. We get a bunch of women contestants who want to settle down, get married, have kids, yada, 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 but we don't get that nearly as often from the male contestants. But one read I do have on Spencer is that he doesn't seem to be very discerning. Like, he just wants to have a family and have kids. And I hate to say this, Jess is like kind of there. I hate to say this. In general, he just doesn't seem that discerning. Have y'all heard of the green light theory? Like the green light taxi cab theory? That's very much what Spencer's doing right now. Next, so Jesse Palmer comes out and gives the contestants their challenge. They need to go to the jungle and they need to set up camp and they're going to be sleeping in the jungle for the night, and that is their challenge. But they eventually find out they don't have to sleep there. And to decide a winner, a therapist judges all the contestants and how they work together in setting up the camp, and I guess whoever does the best wins. Now, this challenge I thought was a mess and also like kinda was not fair. To me, when the therapist reviewed all of their camping situations at the end, I thought her thoughts were very objective, just like how I'm filming a YouTube video and giving my thoughts on the episode. Like, my thoughts are objective. Like, you can disagree with them, and I feel like the therapist, I could disagree with everything she felt about the couples, but what she feels determines the winner. I don't know. Maybe it was all a production ploy. So Kat and Dale ended up winning, and I truly do not think they should win. Kat freaked out the entire time, and she had an anxiety attack due to all the bugs. And I don't know if y'all caught this, but when the therapist was giving her critiques, she told Dale, oh, Dale, you got frustrated with Kat, almost as if Dale was the problem. Kat was very much the problem. She was having an anxiety attack. She was pulling out all the dramatics and doing the absolute most. Like, I would have gotten frustrated too. I think any normal person would have gotten frustrated. Let me know what y'all thought in the comments about this. To me, Dale getting frustrated was very justified, and I think the therapist was almost posing it like, oh, no matter how crazy she gets, you're supposed to keep your cool. No, at a certain point, you need to tell her she's doing too much. Next, so the campsite had horse feces randomly throughout, and at the end of the challenge, Jesse Palmer announces that the contestants do not have to stay at the campsite. He says it's possibly not safe due to having to survive in the Costa Rican jungle. And just a heads up, y'all, I used to be a medic in the Army a while ago, and from the jump, I knew they were not staying there overnight because that is a huge health hazard to stay somewhere where there's a ton of feces. Like, never do that. Next, Keith and Kathy have a one-on-one, and I love how straight Kathy's bob was. And Keith tells Kathy he wants to go home, and low-key, I thought it was so adorable that Keith was homesick and wanted to go home. Next, let's talk about Alex and Andrew. So Alex and Andrew have a one-on-one, and they just talk a whole lot of nonsense, but at the end of their one-on-one, they both say they're like falling for one another. And then earlier in the episode, during the challenge, Alex and Andrew are having another one-on-one, and Alex questioned Andrew because he was doing tongue too quickly, and it was just confusing because I was just like, is this the first time y'all kissed? And when the therapist was giving the comments on all the couples, she says that she is puzzled by Alex and Andrew's relationship. And honestly, we all are. And ultimately, I personally just think Alex is immature. But y'all know that. Y'all know I've been dragging her all season. And next thing I want to say about Alex and Andrew. So we find out that Alex has 6 figures in student loan debt. So I was kind of waiting for this moment to happen. Now that there's money on the line, I was waiting for someone to say, oh, I have student loans. Oh, I have medical debt. Oh, I have a parent in a hospital. Like, I'm actually surprised we didn't get more stories like that. But at the same time, I'm assuming if you're able to leave your job for 6 weeks to go on The Bachelor or Bachelorette, you're probably in a more privileged position than the average. And also, I am very confused. How does Alex have 6 figures of student loan debt? She's Canadian. So school in Canada is not free, but it's like heavily subsidized by the government. So how did she end up with 6 figures? Like, did she go to school in the States or something? And if she did go to the States, that was just a dumb decision. Anywho, we're gonna touch on that more later. So after that, we go to the cocktail party and the rose ceremony. They all vote on who's supposed to go home. It ends up being a tie. So since Dale and Kat won the challenge, they decide the vote and they vote off Jonathan and Leia. This is just another reason why this season is so bad. So Keith wants to go home, and Dale knows Keith wants to go home, but he sends home Jonathan and Leia. I'd rather see someone stay who actually wants to be there. I would have rather have seen Keith go home, but Dale had it out against Jonathan for a while, so that doesn't surprise me. After that, this goes into like episode 9 and 10. So they do some sort of challenge with daggers. I really did not understand the point of the challenge, but Alex and Andrew ended up winning, and then it's another vote to see who goes home, but 2 couples are going home this week, and a lot of people were pleading with Kathy for her vote. And sorry y'all, if I keep backing up, it's because, okay, so my dog, I forgot what it's called, but she basically has doggy dementia, and sometimes she just like walks around the apartment, and while I'm filming this video, she keeps walking around the apartment. But I gotta film the video, so here we are. And my apartment is not that big, so she makes a circle, but one of the circles is like right in front of me. So while I'm filming, she keeps walking in front of me, but I gotta make space for her or she'll bump the camera. Anyways, I wanna point this out. So Kathy wanted to vote off someone who does not need the money. And like, that is just so subjective. Like, I thought that was a weird criteria, but whatever. Long story short, until you sit down and look at someone's bank statements, you'll never truly know who needs the money. And not only that, they could be lying. So to say you're gonna vote someone off based off who needs the money is just so subjective, and that's not a good way for Kathy to vote. Like, and also Kathy is very annoying to me. Sometimes she acts like all wise and stuff, but then she makes decisions like this. And I get what she's trying to do. It comes across very noble, but also it's truly something you can't prove. And sidebar, I was so happy this was the final rose ceremony because I'm so ready to be done with this season. Next, is anyone going to the Bachelor vacation at sea? Did y'all see that advertised? I guess it's a cruise, but you can hang out with some of Bachelor Nation. If anyone's going, put it in the comments and tell me why. Now we're on the finale. The final couples are Alex and Andrew, Spencer and Jess, and Kat and Dale for their next relationship challenge. It's basically a pulley challenge. All of the couples are standing on platforms respectively, and they're holding a pulley system that is attached to sandbags that I think think are 1/3 of their weight or something. And if the weight drops below a specific red line, or if they just can't hold it anymore, they'll fall into the pool, and whoever stays the longest wins. So I'm not gonna lie, I automatically thought Spencer and Jess were gonna win this because Spencer's a pretty big guy and this is a physical challenge. Like, I would have preferred more of a mental challenge, but Alex and Andrew ended up winning. And I thought about it, since Spencer is like such a big guy, 1/3 of his weight is gonna be more weight, and that's just gonna be tougher to hold from a physics perspective. Alex and Andrew are a bit smaller, so they don't have to hold as much weight, but Andrew used to play football too, so he's probably pretty strong, so it worked out, they won. After that, Spencer confesses his love for Jess. It was really hard to feel something for this because we know nothing about them, and I'm convinced that Jess does not love that man. And Spencer also looks at engagement rings with Jessie. After that, we move on to the cocktail party. We find out all of the couples that are eliminated return, and they are the deciding vote for which couple goes home that night. And let me know below in the comments, how did y'all feel about Spencer telling multiple people about his potential engagement during this cocktail party? It felt slightly manipulative to me. Like, it felt like he used it as almost a ploy to get votes. But in his defense, I truly think he wants to get engaged and get married. So this was a tough call, but I will admit it felt slightly manipulative to me. After that, Sean and Alicia, mostly Sean though, start a smear campaign against Kat, and Sean tells everyone that Kat was dating someone before she got on the show, and that guy was still sending love letters to her while they're on the show or something like that. At one point, Kat walks away and is crying, and she has a one-on-one with Dale, and she admits she had something going on before the show, but she refuses to talk about it on camera. This is just my opinion on this. ABC spent entirely too much time on this. It was like very annoying to watch, and it was just too much. And also, Sean started this smear campaign because he did not want Dale and Kat to win the money. But this was so extra because it was clear Dale and Kat were going home. Dale and Kat were up from elimination, and Dale screwed over Sean, he screwed over Jonathan, and he screwed over Jeremy. So Sean probably did not have to do this for Dale and Kat to get sent home. So Dale and Kat get sent home, and we're at the finale. Each of the couples are separated, and Jesse Palmer gives them an opportunity to choose the one they love or take, I think, $200,000 in cash and run. Both couples, of course, choose love, and then Jesse Palmer offers them envelopes with various amounts of money, and they get to pick one, and they get a cash prize. Alex and Andrew both choose love, and they get $125,000, and Jess and Spencer also choose each other, and they get $190,000, and Jess and Spencer also get engaged. I did not have any feels during this engagement, but if you did, let me know below in the comments. And also, I thought it was very wild that Jess and Spencer got engaged and they didn't even go to the fantasy suite. And it's not even about them having sex, but it's just about the opportunity for them to speak off camera. It's very interesting to me. They haven't even really gotten an opportunity to speak off mic and off camera, and they're about to get engaged. Now we're moving on to the reunion, and this is truly the reason why it took me so long to get this video together. So not too long after I got back from traveling, they had posted this 2-hour reunion on Bachelor Happy Hour, and I was dreading watching it because I was like, what are we gonna talk about for 2 hours? If you watch the reunion, go ahead and skip the second hour. Literally nothing happens in the second hour except maybe the first 4 minutes. Nothing is worth watching. Most of the content is in the first hour. Now, I am really curious why ABC went in this direction. Do they want more subscribers to the Bachelor Happy Hour? Or like, was this season so terrible that the reunion was just an afterthought? I'm really curious why they decided to do it this way. Next, Jesse Palmer didn't even host the reunion. The host was Wells, and Hannah B was not even there. I think the reunion would have been better if Hannah B was there. Wells did an okay job, but he let the contestants ramble just too much. Multiple times they were just going on, and I'm like, let's just move on. Also, this podcast studio looked so low budget. They had to squeeze so many people and so many microphones in there, and it just did not look very good. Like, they really could have set this up differently. It was just a very tight space, and there were a bunch of microphone stands, and then just a lot of like audiovisual equipment, and it just did not look good. They really should have just like talked to couples and people kind of 2 or 4 at a time on stage and then brought people in when it was necessary instead of just squeezing everybody in like this. Also, I watched the reunion on YouTube, and I'm sure y'all noticed this unless you have like YouTube Red or Premium or whatever it's called. YouTube has so many commercials now. It is ridiculous. Like, I should have just listened to this on a podcast, but I did want the visual component. So there's a few things I want to point out about the reunion. First, Sean and Alicia. So Sean and Alicia are still together, but distance has been difficult. And at one point, Alicia says she's gotten a lot of job opportunities, so she's had to kind of like put her relationship on a back burner. And she says, "I'm not stopping my life for a heterosexual man." And that was just so corny. She says this literally after they had a short interview with Spencer and Jess, and in Spencer's vows, he even says, "I can make more money, but this doesn't come often," talking about like love. And then immediately after, you have Alicia who's like, "I'm not stopping my life for a heterosexual man." Like, it was just funny to see Spencer say love is more important than money, and then immediately after, you have Alicia saying, "I'm not stopping my work opportunities for a man." And sidebar, Spencer just had a few too many Miss America answers for me. Next, the only golden couple there was Keith and Kathy, and I'm pretty sure they were there just because they almost made it to the end. But to me, there were other golden couples that had way more interesting storylines than they did. And finally, we dive into the Bailey situation, and y'all, it was so clear everyone was just covering their asses. So we got some receipts, and I'll give you the timestamps. So at 58 minutes, Bailey admits she wished her roommate Alexe told her. And then Alexe rebuttals a couple minutes later, and Alexe says Jeremy told her about the phone call, but then said stay out of it. And Jeremy responded, "That's a lie." And then Andrew jumps in and talks about a tweet. I'm guessing Andrew or Alexe posted a tweet and it rubbed like Bailey and Jeremy and some of the other cast members the wrong way. I don't know what the tweet is. They didn't explain it, and I wasn't about to go look for it. So, but long story short, Andrew jumped in and it was just unnecessary. Like, I wish he didn't. I wish they just kind of let Jeremy, Bailey, and Alexe kind of like hash this out a little more. But Andrew said he jumped in because Alexe was upset. And then we also find out Alexe acted the way she did because she was already friends with Jeremy, I guess, coming onto the show. And then also the second reason is Alexe doesn't want to be involved in drama. At 1 hour and 4 minutes, Bailey cried, and directly to Alexe, she says, "I thought you had my back." So let's unpack this. First of all, on this reunion, Bailey had very much moved on. Bailey was clearly unpacking this because she had to, and she had to be at this reunion, but she virtually had no malice towards anyone, and she was not upset with anyone. She was just explaining her side of the situation. Now, this is just my opinion. Y'all know I don't rock with Alexe, and I truly feel like she was the common denominator in this whole situation. First, yes, what Jeremy did was wrong, and he deserves a lot of the blame. But Alexe acted the way she did because she, quote, did not want to be involved in the drama. So this is just my opinion, and I felt the same way on Joey Graziati's season. So if y'all ever meet someone who is like, "I avoid drama, I don't get involved in drama, yada, yada, yada," 9 times out of 10, they're the ones starting the drama. And then once things pop off, their response is, "I don't want to be involved, I don't want to be involved," but it's like, you started it. And another reason I do not rock with people like that is because in general, drama will happen in your life. This is just a natural thing that happens, and you have to deal with it. So I do not like people who avoid dealing with it. I'd rather deal with it and figure it out and move on versus avoiding it. Like, if you avoid it, it's not going to go away. And as you can see, this became a bigger issue because Alexe kept avoiding it. And specifically for this situation, Alexe was in the wrong because she admits she was friends with Jeremy before coming on the show. So she wanted to protect Jeremy. But then she goes on the show, she's roommates with Bailey. She confides in Bailey. She befriends her. They talk all the time. They become best friends. You cannot play both sides of the aisle like that. Now, this is slightly a tricky situation because, again, I don't know if you're allowed to choose your roommates or not, but in my opinion, this is just how I deal with it. So I have really good friends, and if my really good friends get a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, I am nice to them, I am cordial with them, but I always know that if that relationship goes south, my loyalty is towards my good friend. And in this situation, Alexe claimed that she was already friends with Jeremy Jeremy, and then she goes on the show and she befriends Bailey. So she probably could not predict that they were going to get in a relationship, but now that the relationship has gone south, she tries to play both sides of the field. You cannot do that. You need to have loyalty towards someone, and she just avoided it and did not pick, and she ended up screwing over Bailey. And from an optics standpoint, it looks even worse because so in the reunion, she says she was friends with Jeremy and she was friends with Jeremy going on the show. I don't remember if she said that during the season. I just don't remember. But us as an audience, we know she's roommates with Bailey and she's friends with Bailey. And also it would make more sense to be better friends with Bailey because they're both girls. But now it just looks like she betrayed her girlfriend. And at the end of the day, Alexe handled the situation terribly. But again, I've been dragging her most of the season and I just don't think she's a good person, and I'm glad we don't have to watch her any further. And last thing about Alexe, I don't know if y'all saw this in the ending credits, but in the ending credits, it said Alexe and Andrew decide to use the money they won towards Alex's student loan debt. Let me know what y'all thought of that, because unless we're married, I'm not doing that. They're essentially boyfriend and girlfriend. Like, they didn't get engaged and they're not married. Like, I'm not gonna pay off your student loans if we're just boyfriend and girlfriend. And not only that, Alexe apparently lives in LA. Like, you have all that student loan debt and you're living in one of the most expensive cities in the country. Like, it just, to me, it just sounds like Alexe doesn't make good decisions. But she did make one good decision. She's apparently moving to Chicago to be with Andrew, and thank God, because Chicago is a far cheaper city. Next, really quick word on Brian. So at like 1 hour and 5 minutes, Sean says, on the show, everyone was going after Brian, but now everyone is going after Jeremy. And let's wake it up. Of course, we didn't dive deeper into that in the reunion, but it's true. During the season, everyone was dragging Brian, but now that the show has come out and everyone saw the perceptions, everybody wants to flip the script and turn it on Jeremy. And just overall, this is one of the worst casts we've ever had. It's just almost crazy how much of a hive mentality the contestants had this season. Next, Sean and Kathy kind of get into it because Sean is very much like, who are we to decide who is the strongest couple? But honestly, that was just the premise of the show. Frequently, the contestants vote each other off, so essentially it is an arbitrary decision who is the strongest couple. And Kathy argues back that nobody would disagree Spencer and Jess were the strongest couple. And y'all know I find Kathy annoying, but from a viewer perspective, I couldn't tell who the strongest couple was. You could argue it was Spencer and Jess, and Kathy was saying that everyone in Paradise would agree. But from a viewer standpoint, Spencer and Jess didn't seem stronger than anyone else on the island. Next, multiple contestants agreed that they enjoyed the challenges because it allowed them to get to know their partners more, and I really enjoyed hearing that. Normally on Paradise, it's just a bunch of people hanging out on the beach, and I agree. I do think giving the contestants the challenges was a better way to grow their relationships, and I do appreciate that ABC did that, even though most of the challenges were not very interesting to watch as a viewer. And last thing I want to talk about, so Alicia and Kat got into it at one point, and long story short, all of the other women contestants thought that Kat either didn't like them or they were just like afraid of Kat. And this is just my opinion. Kat does play ball with production, and you got to be weary of that. And when you initially meet her, I'm guessing she's not like overly friendly and like overly trying to be your bestie. And a lot of the women contestants took that the wrong way and had it as a knock to her character. And in general, a lot of people dragged Kat during the reunion and overall during the season. And honestly, I just don't really know what to make of her. I personally think she's one of those people who means well, but it takes a little bit to get to know her. And because of that, a lot of the other winning contestants took it the wrong way. Okay, that's all I got for the review. I am so happy this season is over, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye. And don't forget to pound that like button.